What's up, guys? Akere here once more. Today we're actually going to be looking at something simple. Not really something simple, but something that is worth talking about. And today we are talking about the private student colleague versus the resident permit. And actually, it's the problem. So that is what today's discussion is all about. So before we actually go deep into what we really need to look at, I'm just going to give you a quick story. So when I came into Germany, I started with the language course, and after a few months, I needed to go and write the Aufnahmeprüfung for a student colleague, for a public student colleague. That was like a few months after I actually getting to Germany. Prior to coming into Germany, I had no knowledge, zero knowledge about German language. So I didn't speak German at all. Like I don't speak anything. We can only cram some, maybe just say how are you or something. So I really don't speak the language. And so when I get into Germany, I started my language course. And I started with the A1, like the zero level, and just build it up. Oh, I think I was in the A2 when this exam for this student colleague, the Aufnahmeprüfung for this student colleague actually came up, and that was in Jena. Yeah, I could remember Jena. I had to take the train from Koblenz to Jena. The distance was really quite long, but I took the speed train with some couple of friends which I already met at the language school. And before that, my language school actually have their own student colleague, but I'll come back to that. Yeah, anyway, so we took the train and we went straight to Jena and to write the Aufnahmeprüfung for this public student colleague hosted by this university in Jena. And of course, we were much there. There was a lot of people, and yeah, there was really a lot of people there. I think my number then was 800 and something. I can't really remember the number. And when I got there, I see a lot of people in the hall waiting to write the same exam. Students, basically, foreigners, yep, as they will say in Germany, Ausländers, yep. So we're all there waiting to write this exam. This university, we're going to be picking, I think 150 students, yeah. So if we pass, they're going to be picking 150 students as of that time for the new intake, and we were up to 800. So even if you pass, your chances are still slim. They're still going to shovel somehow to pick those that they really want to take in. So not to have too long story, I wrote the exam. Of course, I knew I was not going to pass. So right from the moment I got in there to take the exam, to go to the hall, writing my names and everything, I knew at that very moment I was not going to pass, just because my knowledge of German was not enough to actually take the exam. Of course, I could do some mathematical equations, yeah, but really not everything, because my German knowledge is so little. Yeah, that's why I keep saying, before you go for your student colleague, make sure at least you have to B2 level of German. Yeah, B1, B2. Make sure you have at least to B2. So by the time you write your half briefing, you already sound in the language and you can just help yourself out. Pro to the number of people that are going to be taking your, at least you are going to come out very good. I actually failed that exam, but I wasn't surprised because I knew I was going to fail. And so I went back and need to strategize again and just continue with my language skills. So I continued doing the language because, if you're in Germany for 8 years, if you come into Germany for, I say for 8 years, you have 2 years for you to finish your language school and also pass the Aufnahmeprüfung, finish the student college, and get into the university. So if you don't, I'm talking as a student right now, if you don't get these two stuff or these things done in 2 years, you are going to have to go back to your country and start again from the beginning. You start the process again from the beginning. So you have 2 years to do your language, so you can probably actually learn the language before coming to Germany, which actually makes more sense. Yeah, so when you get to Germany, you just focus on your student college. Yeah, that's just a tip for you. Learn the language before coming into the country. It's going to benefit you actually. In my case, I had 2 years to learn the language, pass the Aufnahmeprüfung, finish the student college, pass the first long prüfung, and then get into the university. It was not really physical. It was not something I could really But like I already faced it. I already failed the first half number briefing. That means I've spent 1 year. I went back to the language school and I continued my language school. That means I already spent 1 year and I have just 1 year left. So going to another public university, going to another public half number briefing. Of course, you know you have to go every country, spend a lot of money. So I decided in one way I'm just going to get into the private student college. I'm going to apply for private student college and I'll get to a private student college, which is going to save my time. With the 1 year I have, if I go into the private student college, I'm going to finish it, get my first shalom briefing, and then I can jump into university. But that was a very big mistake. Yeah, that was one of the biggest mistakes I actually made in my life. One of the worst decisions I actually made. So I left Koblenz. I saw this private student college in Akere. I just chatted. I was just looking. We were really about to resume actually. I met a friend online and then we chatted and she told me about this student college which she's gonna be attending, and I was like, I'm also coming to the student college. We're actually in the same situation anyway. She needed to get something. So we actually started this. I left Koblenz. Yeah, it was really hard to say Koblenz because that was my first city. I had to leave some of my friends behind, the new family I've met. I have to leave everyone behind, and I decided to go to Castle just to start this private school because I applied and they gave me admission. Blah blah blah. The student college, actually there was no entrance examination because it was a private student college, so you can just like come in and yeah, they take everything. Even if your language standard was not really so enough, they take it because they also do language in this student college, so they believe you can catch up before your 1 year is over. Yeah, so I just paid my fee and I started the T course. Yeah, because I wanted to go into computer science, so T course was the best for me. So I started it, and this student college was actually 300 euros per month. Massacre. That is really great. I just speak some little bit of Polish there. That was like 300 euros in a month. And 300 euros I was paying for this student college, and I did my first month, second month, third month, fourth month to the 10th month. Yeah, and this was where the problem started. Don't get it twisted. We are getting to the problem. I said student college versus resident permit and the problem. So we get to the 10th month, and it was already getting to the first term of briefing, and I needed to renew my resident permits. Oh my goodness. So I needed to renew my resident permit, and I went to the afternoon builder, and of course you have to bring your paper and show them what you're doing right now and blah 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 blah. I need to show all the documents, and I presented the document from this student colleague. The name of the student colleague is GSO Academy. I really don't need to withhold their name here. Maybe they are better now, but as of that moment I presented that document to the asylum builder, to the foreign office, and they told me that based on this school I'm attending, yeah, they can't renew my resident permit. And this is where the problem started. I couldn't use this private student college papers to renew my resident permit. I was already almost 2 years in Germany, just few months, and I needed to get into university. And the student college, which I've been paying money for the past 10 months, 300 euros times 10, I think it's that 3,000, if my mathematics are correct. That's a lot of money. Yeah, my goodness. It wasn't funny, really. It wasn't funny. I was not the only one in this problem. This my friend, which I met, had the same issue. Some other friends that were in the student college had the same issue. And not only that, the secretary of this student college actually forgot to register us for the first term briefing. Now, know this. Student college, private student college, they can't organize their own first term briefing. So they actually had to collaborate with another public university, and then they registered their students from private student college. They registered their students with that of the public university to take the first term briefing because they are not in that line. They can't organize a first term briefing. So this secretary actually missed the deadline for the registration of the student in this private student colleague with the public university to write the first term preference. So the first problem is we couldn't take the first term preference because we already missed the date. The secretary actually miscalculated. The second problem was, even if we can write the first term preference, we can't use the document from this student colleague to renew our resident permit, and this is a big problem for us because we are just short of months. We are just months left for us to be able to get into university, else we are going to be thrown out of the country, or not thrown out, but we actually have to return back, then start again from the beginning. So this led to the problem. I just bring that short story just for you to see the problem. So there are many private student colleges actually in Germany that are not really state recognized. Private student college, they are not state recognized. They don't recognize them in the state. So two problems that comes with private student college like this, that you can use their document to renew your resident permit, yeah, and two, even if you are able to write to first term preference, their certificate of student college is not accepted by all university. So if you finish in a private student college, not all private student college, yeah, I'm just telling you some of them, which you need to make your research very well and be sure of the private student college you are. Even if you have your money to pay them, yeah, you have to be sure of what you are really applying to, else you are going to be in the same situation. So you might finish with them and then you won't be able to use their papers, which the certificate you won't be able to use to apply to some universities in Germany because they don't accept them and because they don't recognize them as a standard enough student college. So this is the problem. If you're going to be studying a private student college, make sure to check this thing. Make sure to check their credibility. Make sure to check their states recognized. That if they are state recognized, if you need to renew your resident permit, that means you can use their document. If they are not state recognized, and you look at your resident permit and you see how many months or years you have left, and you see that within this month of you being in the student college, this private student college, you will have to renew your residence permit. I think you might need to rethink this process because you might not be able to use this document from this student college to renew your resident permit. And aside that, like I said, the second problem is that you might not be able to use your certificate from the student college to apply to all universities in Germany, and this is the problem. So before you actually make this decision to study in a private student college, I really need you to check them very well. Check them out. Ask questions. By the time you are registering with them, ask them questions. Ask them these questions. Ask it, or else you are going to spend your money. So imagine I was paying for 10 months, 300 euros, and in the end, it was all a waste. Like, it was a waste. I actually wasted my money. I was able to somehow escape through and also get, of course, I had to leave the student college. I had to leave. I left them. I had to leave them, but I was able to stand my feet and also get another choice to study. I was able to do that, but it came with a lot of prayers, a lot of working around, a lot of making, a lot of researches. I and this my friend which I'm talking about, she's from Jamaica. We actually did a lot of working for us to be able to stand, and some of us that actually study in the same student college, we actually had to do a lot of it takes God. Like, we did a lot of working around, we did a lot of researches for us to be able to escape through within a few months we have, and we're able to actually get into school, and we somehow, but it was not from this private student college. So this is the video I'm bringing to you, or this is the message I'm bringing to you today. Make sure you check this stuff very well. If you are from India, if you are from any part of the world, it's the same, as long as you have to present the student college before starting your university program in Germany. So make sure to check this thing very well. Yeah, make sure you actually check. very well. And actually, this is the information I really want to bring to you today. If you are new on this channel, don't forget to hit the like, the subscribe button, and for you to get more on this channel. So with your word for the subscribe, today is gonna be subscribing. Yeah, so subscribing is the word for today. So subscribe to the channel and you will continue to get more videos and more information you actually need. Once again, I am Akere, and you know what? For sure, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.